Jade and I hope you're having a wonderful day. So today's video is going to be a Q&A. I've asked for questions on my Twitter, on my Instagram. Got a few that I'm going to answer in this video, and they're mainly like mental health related, but also kind of like get to know me. A couple of them are anyway. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing today. And I'm kind of glad because it's going to be a bit more of a relaxed video for me anyway. I can kind of just talk and not overthink what I'm saying. My first question is, does routine help you with BPD? It definitely helps me with BPD. I find having a routine keeps me sane somewhat. The only problem is if that routine gets broken or if something happens out of my control that changes that routine. That is then very, very stressful. But having a routine is helpful day to day, and I think it helps me to kind of track my moods, and I feel like it's easier for me to kind of notice triggers and notice certain things that may be affecting me and I'm not even aware at the time, but I can notice more by having a routine because, you know, everything's just kind of organised, and it makes my head feel more organised, I suppose. So yeah, I'd definitely say having a routine is good. And not even just for BPD, I mean it's good for kind of any mental health condition, and just mental health in general. I think having a routine is a good thing. It's okay as well to be like spontaneous at times, but if you struggle with that at times like I do, then having a routine can definitely make you feel a little bit more stable. Next question is, how do you keep a routine during lockdown? So for me, I have alarms on my phone and like reminders and things of things that I want to get done that day. I also have a daily planner that I write in basically anything that I want to get done that day as well, but which sounds pointless because it means I've kind of got it twice, but it just helps me to have them all written out so I know exactly what I've got to do that day. I try not to beat myself up about it if I do like not get something done. For example, yesterday I was meant to film this video and I ended up getting a migraine, so I couldn't really film. And even though I'd had quite a productive day regardless, I felt so guilty. And it's annoying because I shouldn't feel guilty because I just want to chill, you know what I mean? Like, what's that about? So yeah, I think, you know, having alarms on your phone or having like a planner, a little to-do list, a little whiteboard or something that you can put up on your wall and scribble down what you want to get done that day. And you can also set it for certain times, obviously, and it'll just help you feel a little bit more structured. The next question is, have you ever lost an FP? Which, if you don't know, is favourite person, and it's a term used with borderline personality disorder. If so, what did you do to cope and how did you move on? Excuse that noise in the background, it's my mum's hoovering and my dog's barking at the hoover. How did I cope? Well, I didn't. It was hard, really hard. That attachment when you have an FP is like something else. It's like you put them on this pedestal and they're this incredible person, but of course we can switch, and when we switch then they're no longer this incredible person and they're an awful person, and just you don't want to know, but then you do want to know again, and it's literally like you're getting whiplash from back and forth, back and forth. So losing an FP is like your heart being ripped out and stamped on, legit. It's painful. For me, like I said, I didn't really cope for the first few months. I was constantly thinking about it, constantly obsessing about it, but then I started reaching out to new people, and this is the only real tip that I have and a piece of advice that I have. I can only say my experience, but for me, reaching out to new people, taking that first step, being that little bit more confident in just asking somebody for help, it made the world of a difference because I started making new connections, and you know, then there was new people in my life who were important to me, and I wouldn't say I necessarily replaced the FP with another FP. I didn't really. I just kind of learnt to become okay with not having that one really intense bond, which is something I used to obsess over. I used to feel like I had to have that, whereas now I kind of know I don't. And of course, like, my partner is technically an FP, like, I can't say he isn't, but he is the only one I've got now, whereas before I kind of had two at the same time, but very different relationships. So yeah, for me, moving on, I just basically reached out to new people, made some new connections, and it really helped. The next question is, have you ever had bad experiences with mental health professionals? If so, has that made you closed off, and has it made opening up hard as well? I have had bad experiences with mental health professionals. I'd say probably the worst one was when I went to hospital after self-harm, and the nurse basically said to me that if I could do that to myself, then I should be fine with the numbing injections. Bearing in mind I have a kind of like a phobia. It's not that needles necessarily scare me, it's the thought of them going into my body. Anything to do with like injections, things like that, make me very faint. I just don't cope well. Because of this, my body went into shock, like literal shock. I was having all sorts of reactions, and she grabbed my arm quite hard, went to inject me anyway, even though I was literally passing out. And I mean, like, apparently I did pass out. I don't remember. My boyfriend said I did pass out for like a couple of seconds, and she literally was just like grabbing my arm. She didn't care at all, like, that I was passing out. I had bruises on my arm from where she'd grabbed me, from where she'd injected me, because she used quite a lot of force. She was really aggressive. She was insensitive as well, saying, oh, if you can do that to yourself, then you can do this. Like, anyone that self-harms knows it's a completely different thing, and you're in the moment, you're not really aware of what you're doing, you're just kind of doing it, for me anyway. So that was bad, and pissed me off a lot, and I basically got sent home, didn't have a psych evaluation, nothing. That was it. And I've just had a bad experience with the system in general. I feel like a lot of people have, though, especially like in England with the NHS, like, there's not a lot of funding, especially in the mental health services. So I just don't get enough help, basically. I see a psychiatrist once every 6 months, and that's literally it. So I would say, like, as a whole, my experience with the mental health services has been shit. Frankly, it did make it harder for me to open up. Now I feel like I'm a lot more open because of it, almost. Like, it's like I know I have to be very blunt, very firm with them, and it took me a while to get that confidence to be able to do that, but now I do feel more comfortable, and I can be quite outright with what I want, what I need, or, you know, how I'm feeling, because I know now that if you're not honest, you won't get the help you need, which is hard, but it has to be done. Next question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? I'd like to have a house, maybe be pregnant, be working as a forensic psychologist, and I want to have my degree by then, and maybe be doing a master's degree. And I'd love to have my own little business on the side. I also love singing and dancing, so I'd love to be doing that regularly. Next question is, what is your dream job? So my dream job would probably be like a performer of any kind. I also love psychology, so it's forensic psychology or a performer, but I'd also like love to go to space, and I love astronomy. I have BPD, so there's like tens of thousands of things that I love, have been obsessed with, that I would love to work as, but you know, you can only kind of pick one thing at a time. Next question is, what was your process journey of being diagnosed? The process was quite simple, actually. I was already under the care of a psychiatrist. They basically set me up for an assessment because they suspected that I had traits of borderline personality disorder. Once I had the assessment, they diagnosed me. So, I mean, it was quite quick. They maybe could have noticed it earlier, but it is what it is. I felt quite relieved afterwards, and I felt like a weight had been lifted, like, that makes sense. Next question is, what's the hardest, most annoying thing about BPD for you? For me, it changes, and it can be like a few symptoms are affecting me more than other symptoms, and then it might change. At the moment, I would say it's just the intense emotions, the mood swings. Right now, like, I'm getting overwhelmed really easily. I get stressed out really easily, really quick. It's just hard to cope with day-to-day life when literally everything stresses you out. So I'd say that's probably the hardest thing for me at the moment. Next question is there a quality of yourself that you wish more people recognised but don't because of your diagnosis? I think I'm quite a helpful person. You know, I always want to help people. And I do think that because of my diagnosis with BPD, a lot of people see people with BPD as abusive or manipulative or toxic, which we can be, but I'm also a really caring person, and I'm also someone who loves people. I don't always want to be around people, but it doesn't mean I don't love them and I don't care about them. I just need a little bit more time than maybe others do to recharge in between being around people or seeing people. But in general, you know, I feel like I'm a good person, and I think that BPD is so demonized. People genuinely see me as like an evil person or like a bad person, which can be really hurtful, especially when you're newly diagnosed and you do some research and the first thing you see is that people with BPD are this, and that, and it's all negative. The next question is, what is your journey with medication? So my journey, I first started on fluoxetine when I was about 16. Found it did absolutely nothing for me, just numbed me out even more than I already was. So I was only on that for a few months. I came off that, and then I wasn't on anything for about 3 or 4 years until I got put on citalopram and quetiapine. I gained a load of weight from most likely the quetiapine. You know, having an eating disorder plus that, they don't go well. So I ended up coming off the citalopram and the quetiapine. I wasn't on anything for about a year, maybe a bit longer, and oh my god, was that year hell. Then about a year ago, I got put on venlafaxine. I actually find it really helpful. Definitely noticed an improvement being on venlafaxine. I currently take 225 milligrams a day. I also am on aripiprazole. This was what I started a couple of weeks ago. I'm on 10 milligram of aripiprazole. I also take promethazine as a PRN, so just when I need to like chill out. If I'm feeling a little bit manic or a little bit, maybe I'm having an episode, I can take that. And it kind of works as like a sedative, it just kind of knocks me out. Next question is your experiences living with both BPD and bipolar. Whew, it's hard. I have basically longer mood swings with the bipolar, shorter and quicker mood swings with the BPD. My mood is like never really stable. I also experience like hallucinations, and this is something that I don't know whether or not it's related to my bipolar or related to my BPD. I do hallucinate at times, and I also, you know, have auditory like hallucinations and visual. Treatment wise as well, it can be quite hard to find the right balance in terms of like medication and therapy to kind of combat both. So at the moment I'm focusing more on my BPD. Next question is what is your experience with distance learning at university? Where do you want to take your psychology degree, and what do you want to specialise in? Distance learning, it's not always easy. You don't have the same support as I think you would have in a brick uni. You know, you only have your tutor who you can either email or phone, but it's not, you know, as hands-on, I'd say, as you would have in any other university. You know, but I enjoy it. It works for me because I can work from home. That helps with my mental health. Where do I want to take my degree? Like I've already mentioned, I really want to be a forensic psychologist. So I basically wanted to combine working with like true crime and psychology. And what do I want to specialise in? So yet again, the forensic side. I would like to do like clinical maybe as well. Like we all know, I have BPD, I can't make decisions. But at the moment, I'm quite focused on forensic psychology. And I'd love to like start my own charity for mental health. I would absolutely love to do that, but I just don't know how to go about it. Next question is experience with friends relating to mental health. Like, have you had friendship breakups because it affected your mental health? I have had, and that was actually the FP story I told earlier. And I've had other friendships that have broke down, not always because of my mental health. I would say that it maybe contributes, but that could be because I can be quite confrontational, and especially if there's something that's really getting on me, like, I will say it. And sometimes I can struggle with controlling that and being a little bit maybe too over the top. So that has affected friendships, but I wouldn't say it's like a main issue that I've like always faced. But I wouldn't say it's the only reason that happened. Next question is, have you ever been taken advantage of or enabled because you are different from friends or didn't know any better? No, I wouldn't say so. I am quite a headstrong person, so for me, I think I've always known, if anything, I'm probably too defensive and too got my guard up. So I wouldn't say I've necessarily been taken advantage of, because I'm probably over aware of that, and I can tell if someone's doing that, and I will literally just be like, no. So that is all the questions for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and a comment if you did. Also, any suggestions for future videos would be really appreciated. Leave them in the comments below. Quick little side note, I'm actually wearing earrings that I made. All my links are in my bio for like my art store and my Twitter. If you do want to buy some earrings or order an art commission, just hit me up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Life was dull until you came. I was breathless,